So hello, everyone. We are just getting started here. We'll wait another minute or so. My name is Laura Kavanaugh, and I'm an admissions counselor at College for Creative Studies. You, of course, are attending our financial aid night, and thank you so much for being here. Just a little housekeeping to those of you entering the room now. This is being recorded. It does look as if most of you have your videos turned off. And I would just encourage you to keep it turned off if you don't want to be recorded. Looks like we have a couple messages going on in the chat. And I will say that if any of you have questions about tonight's presentation, please feel free to type those questions in the chat, and we'll answer those throughout the presentation or live at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I will introduce Matt Catanese. Let him take it away. Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome. Thanks for the opportunity to provide you guys with this Financial Aid Night 2021. My name is Mathew Catanese. I am the Financial Aid Director here at College for Creative Studies. And with me today is my team, Allison, Molesworth, and Ayman, Nassir. As Laura had indicated, if you guys have any questions during the presentation on anything that I'm covering, please do put it in the chat. Allison and Ayman will try to respond as quickly as possible. We will open it up towards the end for a question and answer. So feel free at that point, if anything hasn't been answered, you can then go ahead and ask it at that point. So without further ado, I'm going to begin. So today's agenda, we are going to talk about financial aid. So what the types of financial aid are, the categories, the cost of attendance, expected family contribution, financial need, and then we're going to go over the FAFSA application. So you may ask, what is financial aid? So financial aid consists of funds provided to students and families to help pay for post-secondary educational expenses. This includes federal, state, institutional, and outside resources. So you have two categories of financial aid. You have self-help aid and you have gift aid. So your self-help aid are your loans and work study employment, and your gift aid is scholarships and grants. So your sources of financial aid, it comes from the federal government, some states, colleges and universities, private resources, and employers. So scholarships. So these are funds that don't need to be paid back. They are generally awarded on basis of merit, skill, or unique characteristics. And generally, they are received from the school or from private companies or organizations. And my computer has froze up. I apologize. So CCS offers merit scholarships to 98% of the applicants. The CCS scholarship and awards are automatically considered once the applicant completes their admission requirements. These awards are based on portfolio review and academic achievement. And in order to maintain these merit awards throughout the 4 years or 5 years that you will be attending a CCS, you have to maintain a cumulative GPA of a 2.5 or higher. And again, I apologize. My computer is running super slow. So CCS scholarships, we offer scholastic art scholarships. These are for high school students who win a gold or silver medal at a national level. National gold medal recipients receive $2,000 per year over 4 years, or $8,000 total. And national silver medal recipients receive $1,000 per year over 4 years, or $4,000. Grants. Grants usually do not need to be paid back. They are awarded based on financial need. They are received from school, state, or federal programs. And most grants require you to file a FAFSA application in order to be eligible. Some grant programs include Michigan Tuition Grant or Competitive Scholarship, the Federal Pell Grant, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant or SEOG, and then CCS tuition grants. Federal direct loans. So yes, federal direct loans are considered financial aid. So this is money students and parents can borrow to help pay for college expenses. Repayment usually begins after the education is finished, after 6 months after graduation, or the student drops below half time, which is 6 credits. Your loans include the federal subsidized direct loan and unsubsidized direct loan, and those loans are in the student's name. The only difference between the two is that the unsubsidized loan is interest bearing, so it is incurring the interest as it takes out. And the current interest rate for those loans are 2.75%. It is a fixed interest rate. And for dependent students, which is based on FAFSA, the parents can attempt to borrow a Parent Plus loan. There is a soft credit check associated with the Plus loan, and it's up to the Department of Education to accept the loan request. This loan is interest bearing and paid to the school directly on the student's behalf. And the current interest rate is at 5.3%. And then work, study, employment. This allows students to earn money to help pay educational expenses. This is employment on campus. Completing the FAFSA application is not needed for on-campus jobs at CCS. All students are considered for work study positions. We cannot guarantee a position, but all students are eligible to apply. And the job postings can be viewed online through the Financial Aid Blackboard page. International students and non-citizens, we do, as an institution, offer institutional financial aid. We offer international student grants, CCS merit awards, and international students or non-citizens are eligible to apply for work-study positions. So other financing sources. We have private scholarships, private educational loans, college savings plans such as Michigan Education Trust or 529 plans, employer tuition reimbursement programs, and this could be from the student if the student is currently working or through their parents. And what I would encourage the parents to do is contact their HR department to see if they have any dependent tuition reimbursement benefits. If you served in the military or a parent has served in the military, you might have VA educational benefits. And if all else fails, or if you're not interested in any of the above, we do offer a payment plan, which would split the semester balance into 5 equal disbursements. So when attending CCS or any other school, you are going to be assessed the cost of attendance. And what the cost of attendance is that is a generalized cost that it would take to attend CCS or another institution. The cost of attendance is split up into billable costs and non-billable costs. Your billable costs, which you'll see in the green, are your tuition and fees and room and board. Your non-billable costs are your books and supplies, transportation, and miscellaneous expenses. What is the expected family contribution? So this is a measurement of the student and family's ability to pay for post-secondary educational expenses. It takes into consideration the student contribution and parent contribution for dependent students. The EFC helps determine need-based financial aid eligibility. Again, that is your grants or federal subsidized loans or your work-study eligibility. And how financial aid is calculated is it takes the cost of attendance minus your EFC, and that gives the financial aid office your financial need. So for instance, your cost of attendance is $30,000. Your expected family contribution, which is based off your FAFSA, is $10,000. You would have a financial need of $20,000. So you could be awarded grants and need-based aid up to that $20,000. So we're going to jump in and we're going to talk about the FAFSA application, or the free application for federal student aid. And what this does, it collects demographic and financial information. The information that it does collect is used to calculate your expected family contribution. Colleges use the EFC to determine financial aid eligibility. It's available in 2 languages, English and Spanish. And you have 3 options to complete the FAFSA application. You can complete it online, which is preferred. You can fill out a paper application and then mail it to FAFSA, or you can contact FAFSA directly and complete it on the phone with a representative. The timeline for FAFSA completion, the FAFSA must be filled out every year. So it's not a one and done. If you are attending a college or CCS in the fall 2021 or winter 2022 semesters, you are going to want to fill it out now. If you are going to be attending school fall 2022, winter 2023, you are going to want to start filling it out as early as this October 1st. For Michigan residents, the FAFSA application should be filled out no later than March 1st. This is the Michigan priority deadline, and I would allow adequate processing time because there is no wiggle room with the state of Michigan. If it is not submitted by March 1st, then you are ineligible for that entire year. CCS does have an early admissions, early action deadline. And for those that are attending or planning on attending this fall or winter semester, that deadline was December 1st. But those that are looking to attend fall 2022, winter 2023, that early action deadline would be December 1st, 2021. So it is coming up. So eligibility requirements for FAFSA. So first, you need to be enrolled in a degree-seeking program. You must obtain a high school diploma or equivalent, such as a GED. And you have to have established U.S. citizenship status, whether you are a U.S. citizen, you're a permanent resident, you're a resident of the freely associated states, or other non-eligible eligible statuses. And for males between the ages of 18 and 26, you must register for selective service, or what's formerly known as the draft. So jumping into the FAFSA information needed. So you will start with the student demographics. You're gonna need your name, your address, your email address, citizenship status, your marital status if you are married, high school completion status. So this is a copy of the paper application, and what this is just populating your information. so that when you go to fill it on from year to year, the demographic information will be auto-populated, and for years after, you will just be updating your financial information. So please make sure that this information matches, so your name, your address, email address, that matches the information that you inputted on your FSA ID, which is your login information to fill out the FAFSA application. So after you input your student demographics, you'll be prompted to enter in your high school information as well as your college information. So it'll ask you for your high school name and high school city, and it just verifies that a high school that you are graduating or have graduated from is on the eligibility list. And then once FAFSA confirms that that information is accurate, then you'll be prompted to enter in your college or universities that you are interested in attending. Students can input up to 10 schools of choice. If the student has more than 10 schools, what you will have to do is you will have to submit your FAFSA, wait 3 to 5 business days, and then go in and make a correction and remove some of the schools and then add the remaining schools of interest. And then for those that are interested in attending CCS, our school code is 006771. And for Michigan residents, if CCS is your top school, it is important that you put the school code on number 1, school of choice. That way, when the state of Michigan is determining their grant and scholarship eligibility, you will show up on CCS's eligibility roster. So the next one is dependency status. So this determines if you are an independent or dependent student. So students may be 21, they may be moved out, fully providing on their own. However, if they cannot answer any of the dependency questions yes, then they are considered dependent, generally by age, and parent information is required. So for those that are considered dependent students because they were not able to answer any of the dependency questions yes, that's when you will want mom or dad in the room so that you can go ahead and enter in their demographic information. So again, they will be asked, their name, date of birth, social security number, in the marital status. So marital status, what I have found throughout the many years I've been in financial aid, is surprisingly a very tricky question. So how to answer this question is as the day that you are filling out this FAFSA application. So your current marital status as of today is either never married, unmarried, married or remarried, divorced or separated, or widowed. So for instance, mom and dad are legally married as of today, and then they decide it's not working out and they want a divorce. So you would put married, remarried, and then the marriage date, and then you would contact the financial aid office and let them know that there's been a change in your parent marital status and you need to know how to update that. And your financial aid counselor will walk you through the next processes. Now, say mom and dad are already divorced, and as of today, you are currently divorced or separated. You would fill that out, but then mom goes and gets married a month later. You are not required to update your FAFSA application based on that new marital status, because as of the date you filled it out, you answered it accurately. You were divorced or separated. So please just be mindful, it is asking as of the day that you are filling out the FAFSA application, not future dates, not prior dates. So once the parent demographic information is completed, it'll prompt you to start adding in your parent tax information. So the current 2021-22 FAFSA application, it is using your 2019 federal taxes. The easiest and quickest way to input the tax information is to complete the data retrieval tool. And what this does is it automatically transfers your IRS tax data to the FAFSA application. So this helps eliminate many inconsistencies or wrong data, and it lessens the chance of being selected for verification by the Department of Ed. And what that means is if you're selected for verification, the school is required to verify the accuracy of the FAFSA application. And generally speaking, it has to do with the tax information, okay? For those that are going to be filling out the 2022-23 FAFSA application, you will be utilizing your 2020 tax information at that point. So once the parent information is inputted, then it's going to bring you over to the tax filing, the student tax filing information. If the student, again, filed a 2019 federal tax, it is best to use the data retrieval tool, since it is the quickest and easiest way to input this information. If the student did not work or earn any wages or file a tax return, then they would just indicate that on the FAFSA that they are not required to file a tax return or not going to file a tax return, and it'll bypass most of this information. Once everything is inputted, you are almost there. You are going to be, so in order to sign and submit the FAFSA application electronically, you are going to be required to create an FSA ID and password. If you are dependent, one parent will be required to also create an FSA ID and password so that you both can electronically sign off on the FAFSA application and submit it electronically. So I generally would, as a good rule of thumb, is do your FSA ID and password within 5 to 7 days of you filling out the FAFSA application. Once you have, after you create the FSA ID and password, it does take 1 to 3 days to verify your identity through the Social Security Administration. And once you are approved or verified, you'll receive an email from FAFSA saying that you are all set, everything's been verified, your FSA ID is good to go. And so then you can go ahead and complete that FAFSA application. So the FSA ID is used for FAFSA completion, and it also allows access to certain U.S. Department of Education websites. This is used by students and parents throughout the financial aid process, including subsequent school years. So I would encourage you to make a FSA ID and password that you are going to remember. And if you are thinking that you are not going to remember, you can write it down in your notes, put it in your phone. That way it's easily found so that you can use it from year to year and you don't have to go through the hassle of trying to reestablish your FSA ID and password or resetting your password. Only the owner of the FSA ID, so the student and parent, should be applying for their FSA ID separately and on their own. And you can apply for your FSA ID through this website. So once you fill out your FAFSA application, you input all the data points, and you are able to sign and submit. The next, what's expected? So the student submits the FAFSA electronically. The FAFSA is sent over to the Central Processing System Center for review and approval. And once CPS approves your FAFSA, it then sends the FAFSA over to the school that you indicated on your school of choice for review and awarding. Generally speaking, from the time that you electronically submit your FAFSA to the time the school receives it is usually within 3 to 5 business days. So pretty quick. If you have inputted a valid email address, you will receive a SAR or a student, wow. This is basically a student aid report. That's what the SAR means. And this is just a breakdown of all of your FAFSA line by line and what was inputted. And then up here, you'll have your EFC, which is determines, again, your need-based aid and financial aid eligibility. And in the event that you do not list CCS as a school of choice, you would be given a DRN number, which you would then give to the school so that we can access your FAFSA data and input or make any corrections if you're unable to. So special circumstances. This is unfortunately a big thing this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And what the special circumstances is, you know, if there was a death in the family, unusual uncovered medical or dental expenses, loss of employment, which is a big one due to the COVID pandemic. If you have an extraordinary amount of dependent care, if mom or dad or the student and spouse get a divorce, or if the family is contributing to, again, an exorbitant amount of secondary school tuition. So if you think that the FAFSA data on that was inputted on the FAFSA does not give a clear picture of your current financial status, it is encouraged that you reach out to your financial aid counselor to discuss your situation, and they will be able to then walk you through the next steps. So special circumstances exist that cannot be documented with the FAFSA. You are required to send in written explanation and documentation to the College Financial Aid Office for review. Colleges will review the request and request any additional information if necessary, so that we can gauge the changes that are needed on the FAFSA application. And once or if any changes on the FAFSA application are made, the decisions are final and cannot be appealed to the U.S. Department of Ed. So if after all of the documentation is reviewed and it does not change the FAFSA data significantly, or doesn't bring the student into any additional aid eligibility, then the financial aid office would then deny your request, and you can't basically appeal to the U.S. Department of Ed to receive additional aid. So with that being said,
Hey, Matt, you cut out a little bit. Could you just repeat the last part, please?
yes, I'm sorry. So the
That's
special
okay.
circumstances. So these are conditions that exist that can't be documented with the FAFSA. You would be required to send in written explanation and documentation for the College Financial Aid Office to review. Once the college reviews, it may request additional information to get a better idea of your current financial situation and any data elements that we would have to update on the FAFSA that may change your EFC number or your expected family contribution. And the big one is decisions by the financial aid office or department is final, and it cannot be appealed to the U.S. Department of Education. So that's a big thing. Many students or parents think that, you know, their situation warrants additional aid or additional changes to the FAFSA application. but the documentation that was submitted says otherwise. So there is a potential that the financial aid could deny your request for a special circumstance. But I will say it doesn't happen often. So with that being said, I'm going to open it up for questions. If you're muted, go ahead and unmute yourself and feel free to ask them, or you could put them in the chat and we will go ahead and answer them through the chat. Don't overwhelm us all at once.
Matt, I guess you just did such a thorough job of going over everything. I'm going to return to video here. I guess there are no questions. Maybe, Allison, is there a good email that you could just drop in the chat, the best email for students to reach out to if they do think of any questions after tonight? Oh, Matt has it on the screen right there.
Yep, and also the best way to get a hold of us is finaid@collegeforcreativestudies.edu. It goes to our general email box, and anyone that is working can answer that. So that's how you're going to get your quickest response. Well, if there are no questions, I will give you back some of your evening. And of course, if you guys think of anything regarding financial aid, the cost, you need additional assistance with your FAFSA application, please feel free to reach out to my office or my team, and we'll be able to walk you through some of that information and answer any questions or concerns.
All right, thanks so much, Matt, and the rest of the financial aid team. And thank you all for being here tonight. And hopefully we'll hear from you soon. Have a great rest of your evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.